Hello and welcome to one of the final series of the South America Challenge here on HeflaTV HP1 as we're now in the semifinals. This is going to be a best of three between Team Swagger, formerly known as CNB, and Union Gaming. I'm Grandis Fee and I'm going to be joined by More Rage Please.
Yeah, it looked to be a good matchup here. In chat, we had a vote that was about even. Big time value bet over on D2BY for a Schwagentiger or CNB. I would actually consider them the favorites coming into this one, but they're a 25% underdog as it stands.
Yeah, definitely. So I expect this to be pretty close either way, but yeah, as you said, both teams have been looking pretty good, and if anything, it should be 50-50, but CNB are have been looking pretty solid over the last couple of weeks. Either way, this draft is progressing pretty slowly as there was quite a long time as we wait for everybody to load in, but either way, it's going to be Axe first band out, no big surprises there, and the Troll also no surprises. And honestly, for the first four bands and first four picks, I don't expect there to be.
Yeah, just very favored heroes recently in the meta, as you mentioned. So they're going to take those out from the pool. Probably see something like a Juggernaut band out here, maybe even a Zeus. But yeah, either way, very indicative of just pro Dota recently. So no surprises, as you mentioned.
Yeah, definitely. So if we go ahead and take a look at the last couple matchups between Union Gaming and CMB, Union Gaming have won all three of them, but I don't think this is indicative of how they've actually been playing. As far as their matchups against the other teams inside the inside the region, I think that CNB have been looking a little bit more stable, let's say.
Yeah, Brazilian squad looking a little bit more polished here. UG not bad with their recently formed squad anyways. Benjaz the only member of the former UG, the Offenders that everyone loves to flame over on Reddit. But either way, I think Union Gaming have kind of gelled quite a bit. They lost earlier on in the winners bracket to Isurus. They were able to 2-0 them in the losers bracket with their backs to the wall. So progressively looking better throughout the tournament. Still think CNB has a slight edge, but we'll jump a bit further into the bands. Juggernaut taken out by Union Gaming. No surprises there. Bristleback actually removed by Schwagentiger. Interesting that they prioritize that, but the first pick, Batrider, going to come out for UG.
I'm not entirely sure if I like Batrider as a first pick when Vengeful Spirit's still in the pool, and I'd expect that in some way to be involved in Swag's first two picks.
Yeah, it's a very strong support in general, and when you give it when you entice Swag into taking it by taking a first pick Batrider, it's probably going to be one of the things they're heavily considering here. If not, something perhaps like an Earthshaker can be grabbed up as well. But yeah, either way, it does leave them a little bit open. And Batrider, don't think he's someone that's been really heavily banned out too often, except for in respect ban scenarios. So they probably could have allowed him to slip through a little bit more and grabbed him a little later on. But we will see Swag respond with an initiator and an offlaner of their own with the Clockwork.
Yeah, and if they're not going to go for the Vengeful Spirit, this is also another good way to go about it. Having a way to counter-initiate or start fights before the bat can really get online, and also just throwing barriers up before the bat's able to go through. If you can bounce them back from the cogs, that can really put a screw into Batrider's initiation plans.
Yeah, definitely. So they're taking a little bit of time here in order to grab up that second pick. Probably grabbing the clock because they don't want to get both their supports early on. That does, of course, limit their variability thereafter in the draft. So they will pick up one of them. That's the Lion. Probably the strongest support overall in terms of a utility, damage output, and lane presence recently in Dota 2. So definitely a very nice pick from them. Hex instant cast into the Batrider as he grabs up his lasso target is pretty darn good as well. So they do have ways to deal with it. UG can ensure, though, as you mentioned, that Venge is not given over to Swag.
Yeah, I was also thinking that maybe Swag were considering going for something along the lines of the Sniper, but, well, that's still inside the pool, and I'd probably expect that to be banned out. Either way, both teams have a pretty solid opener, filling up one of their support slots and their offlaner, but still leaving themselves pretty open to a wide array of different playstyles. Vengeful Spirit and Lion are pretty jack-of-all-trades supports. They can fit into pretty much anything.
Yeah, definitely. As you mentioned, both teams have quite a few different routes they can take here. Sniper would have been certainly some good synergy with the Lion having the initiation power he does, as well as the Clockwork able to cog in a target, help him out with the shrapnel spam, as well as the right clicks from range. So smart ban coming out from UG. We'll have the Slark ban coming in response from Swag, and then the Queen of Pain taken out from UG here. Interesting to see them ban the Cop. I've seen this picked up a lot, but most often it's kind of been in a slight counter to Juggernaut. Juggernaut would have fit well with their lineup, but of course they banned it out. So maybe they look for something to take down Roche here, something like a Troll, but Troll also banned out. But I expect some sort of physical damage to come out to synergize with that Venge here.
For the swag side, they'll ban out the Brewmaster and the Slark and then instantly pick up the IO. Pretty interesting to see IO this highly prioritized, or not really IO per se, but rather the bans of the Slark and Brewmaster when there's still a lot of counters to the IO in the pool.
Yeah, certainly a lot to deal with it, even in the form of a support disruptor. Not bad at all at doing that. The Axe has been banned out, so that's a pretty good hero up against the IL swag. Perhaps thinking that they're a little bit more able to pull off what they intend to do so with this IO. That being out of the pool, there's still things like the Magnus, of course. Swag still needing a mid laner at this point, but you'll probably see, or Union Gaming, I should say, but you'll probably see this dual lane mid with the Tiny, and it is picked up here for Swag. This is something I've seen them run a couple of times, and they're pretty proficient with it.
The Abaddon pick for Union Gaming is actually pretty interesting. I personally don't like it. I think it's kind of outclassed by... Ooh, okay. So two very interesting picks coming from Union Gaming. Okay, so Abaddon, I would have liked to see a Witch Doctor or a Disruptor in his place up against the IO, but regardless, their next pick up the Lifestealer, very interesting. It's pretty nice up against the Tiny and the IO both. Pretty low armor heroes, and the open wounds is pretty annoying for Tiny to deal with, I'd say. And they have a Bat Rider to do Lifestealer bombs with. But even so, I think there was a lot of other carries that outclass the Lifestealer. It's just not one that we see very often.
Nah, I don't think there's enough here to make the Rage worth picking up. There's also the Tether that if the IO gets open wounds, as long as he has backup anywhere nearby or even a creep wave, he can probably tether away from the LS unless he gets something like an Abyssal. But either way, I mean, yeah, Infest Bomb is nice. I don't think it's enough to warrant the LS pick. They do have the Abaddon as well, so that'll allow him to get a little bit more zealous in these team fights, and maybe he's able to chase down something like a Lion first, which does deny Swag a lot of their disable. But either way, not enough lockdown for my liking in order to warrant a Lifestealer pick.
Yeah, the Lifestealer, I think, needs to get off to a roaring start, and Union Gaming as a whole need to play very aggressive with these next two picks. Vengeful Spirit and Bat Rider are more than comfortable just farming up, defending a safe lane farmer most of the time, but this is not going to be one of those cases. The Lifestealer, if he's just sitting back and farming when they're trading farm against an IO Tiny, I'm definitely going to favor Swag's lineup.
Yeah, and I already do, and I think this Lina ban coming out from Swag is very wise. I would look for something like that in the mid laner. Mid laner with a disable is certainly something that Union Gaming is lacking a little bit at this point. You could look for the Storm, but up against the dual lane of IO Tiny, it's going to be very rough times for that Storm Spirit. He's going to need a defensively postured support like the Abaddon behind him more often than not to get something out of that lane. It does add another target for the Infest Bomb for UG, but still think it's a little bit risky. We'll see the Razor ban come out from UG.
Risky for sure, but I'm not sure if there's anything better in the pool, I want to say. Another thing to keep in mind is that Swag are not lacking the lockdown with Lion, Clockwork, and Tiny all bringing stuns to the table, and a plethora of them as well. Last pick up for Swag is going to be a Viper. Maybe this IO Tiny goes off to the safe lane, but even so, last pick for Union Gaming's Huskar. If their lineup wasn't aggressive already, Union Gaming are so reliant on getting early kills and getting an early advantage, or their lineup's just going to fall flat on its face.
I mean, maybe they were planning on it before this Viper pick, but I hate Huskar with the amount of physical damage that's coming out from the Tiny and the Viper, especially considering Nether Toxin being there. I mean, it's good against the Finger of Death, but it's not a really heavily magic damage oriented lineup for Swag. So I'm not sure I love the Huskar pick here. Will be another Infest Bomb target for the Lifestealer as well, and maybe a Space Creator early on. But we'll see how he fares early mid against presumably what will be this dual lane with the Tiny IO.
Yeah, from what I've seen of South American Huskars, generally they go for this super early armlet rush, and they do very well in their lane, and hopefully that's going to be the case for Union Gaming, because they kind of need to, and it looks like this is going to be the build, as he opens up with not but a blade of attack. It's going to be played by somebody that I have no idea how to say their name, since they're tagged up as stand-in blank, and they're also private on Steam profile, so I can't check. Either way, Zetok going to be playing on the support Abaddon, Nightmare on the Vengeful Spirit, opening up with Boots first, Bat Rider by Nando on the off lane, and last but not least, our Lifestealer played by Ben Has in the safe lane.
Yeah, for the side of Swag or CNB, going towards the safe lane, we've got Klotz on the Tiny. He's going to be accompanied by Ned on the IO. Behind them is VSW on the Lion. We've got Soothes on the Viper, and finally in the off lane, that leaves Alameo on the Clockwork.
Batrad is going to look to place down his ward, and he'll do so without much interruption by Swag, even though their level 1's pretty scary for a Bat Rider. Even if he has Firefly, there's no guarantee he gets out of there, but he will get his vision down, and I'm not sure this is going to be dewarded. the IO definitely doesn't want to be buying sentries, and Lion doesn't have the money to, since they are going to allow Ned to just straight up rush that bottle.
Yeah, smart play coming out here from UG. They're going to try and secure the top rune so as not to give an early bottle over to this IO and allow Klotz to get some spamming out on their offlaner. So smart play from them, and this may secure them 2 runes. They're going to throw an avalanche out onto the Huskar. Magic Missile goes out onto Net. He's getting very low with the Burning Spears. One more right click and a little bit of a misstep from Swag. And First Blood going the way of Union Gaming Nightmare. That's the Vengeful. They get both bounty runes, one on the mid laner, one on the safe laner.
Even though the IO doesn't lose that much gold, it's only about 30. It's still pretty significant since that IO is going straight for that bottle rush and really would have liked to have the extra gold. But even more importantly is Union Gaming drawing that First Blood. Their laning stage just got a whole heck of a lot easier, and this armlet's going to be coming out so very quickly. And it looks like dual lane versus dual lane is going to be the settle down in mid for both sides, as Abaddon has parked himself here.
Yeah, and Viper will do just fine up against the Bat Rider, especially with Lion up behind him. So I don't mind this choice at all, and that seems to be what the Abaddon pick was for. He's going to catch an avalanche in the face. Aphotic Shield is there, trying to get the damage off onto Ned, but nothing much going to come of that.
Yeah, in the end, it's just going to be a little bit of an awkward standoff. Clockwork 1v1 versus Lifestealer is a pretty manageable matchup for the Clock, as the Vengeful Spirit's currently looking for some pulls, as the lane is currently under the Tower of Alameo. But still, Clock's managed to find himself a level 2, and without this extra support coming out from the Abaddon, he's going to be doing pretty well inside this laning stage, although I don't expect him or the Lifestealer to die. I think most of our actions should be isolated in mid.
Yeah, the one thing I do worry a little bit about for the side of Union Gaming is that having their support in the mid lane means that if their Bat Rider doesn't get enough out of this offlane, he's not going to have too many stacks prepared for him in the jungle. So I do worry a little bit. We already see VSW stacking the small camp and the large camp on the Dire side.
Yeah. Well, let's see. Looks like this is just going to be the status quo. It's going to be maintained for quite a while. Huskar is doing very well in the mid lane. He's probably going to buy himself that Helm of Iron Will next, as he saves up quite a bit of gold, but the amount of pressure he's able to put on the Tiny is not to be underestimated, although now with the bottle on Ned, it's going to start being a little bit more manageable for Klotz, as he has that extra bit of sustain through Tether.
Yeah, and he can start to spam out his combo. Unfortunately, both those spells are magic damage, so they'll be able to get Huskar low, but probably won't be able to net him a kill. We will see Nando with a little bit of antics as the Lifestealer grabs up the Clockwork bot lane with the help of the Vengeful Spirit. Looks like the cogs perhaps a little bit too late from the Clock Magic Missile into open wounds.
I'm not sure how he ended up into that corner, but it looks like he just found himself in a really awkward spot. And if you do get caught out, Vengeful Spirit and Lifestealer are pretty good at abusing that fact. With 2 range creeps, they're going to push into this top lane. Bat Rider is sent all the way back to base, but he's found himself a level 3, and I think that's more than enough for him to just move into the woods. Even though he doesn't have any stacks now prepared for him, he can make up for that pretty easily.
Yeah, he's not too far off his Tranquils as well, so he can be able to retreat into the jungle, and as you mentioned, they have a little bit of an economical preparation for him there, so already Z-Talk going to look to triple stack up this large camp for him. That'll give him a nice boost.
Yeah, for sure. Well, then, that is your Helm of Iron Will on the Huskar. Let's see how fast this armlet can come out. He's already more than halfway there. It's going to be pretty scary, especially for the IO. If he as much as shows his face once he gets level 6 and armlet online, he's just going to be able to jump and kill him very quickly. Left alone, Viper is going to be pretty happy about farming, and Lion can constantly look for pulls and get a little bit of experience and whatnot that way. But for the most part, things have died down. No rotations, and I doubt we're going to see some until we see Clockwork get his level 6 or a Blink Dagger on the Bat Rider.
Yeah, very even across the board in terms of experience. The Tiny, by virtue of being in the dual lane, is a little bit low relative to the Lifestealer and the Huskar. But either way, Viper's still sitting on level 4. All the supports pretty much at parity. 1 level 3 and 1 level 2 supports for both sides. So things pretty stagnant here early on. Nightmare doing a good job of pulling on this Venge, though, and he'll pick up his level 4 here shortly.
Yeah, well, even though Union Gaming's lineup is very aggressive, it takes them a little bit to get the ball rolling. They're not really inclined to make these very early rotations, even though they probably could. Look for some dives. It's a little too overzealous at this point in order to go for that. Let's see. In mid lane, Klotz does have the IO coming in from the sidelines. They're going to have a full Spirit Bomb, and it looks like he might want to get that off onto the Huskar, but Ned's going to think better of it. He has a regeneration rune, so there's no threat to the IO either.
Yep. Meanwhile, everything else just going kind of as planned for both sides. A little bit of a failed stack coming out from the Abbas. Unfortunate for Nando, but he's got 1150 gold plus these couple stacks about to go down here. So not too far off the Blink Dagger. Look for that to come out in a very reasonable timing.
Yeah, and I think that's fair. The item of choice for the... Ooh, in mid lane, Avalanche Toss going to be dropped in the Huskar. Just some casual harass. With the Abaddon behind him, there's really no threat for the Huskar to die at this point. The Spirits are going to be a nuisance, but those get fully absorbed by the Aphotic Shield. Lifestealer's item of choice is going to be Phase Boot, so it looks like he wants to get pretty active around the map. But he's also been untouched. I would have been okay with a Midas, but up to personal choice. Let's see how it's going to pan out.
Yeah, I guess they probably expect Swag to want to fight kind of early with the Viper building into this mech if they've clicked on him. But yeah, Tiny IO, with the relocate, they get active, but generally you want to see the Tiny get a little bit more farm before he starts jumping into these fights. So interesting choice from the Lifestealer, as you mentioned. I would have favored the Midas as well, considering that he does have free farm, but they can get pretty active pretty early with the Lasso and the power of the Huskar.
Yeah, well, let's see what Klotz is going to be building onto on the Tiny. He's sitting on quite a large lump sum of gold. Maybe we see him go for a Blink, or maybe this is going to be a hand of Midas for the Tiny.
Yeah, it could be. Could be the Aghanim's Rush as well. Hasn't picked up anything quite yet. Maybe just finishes up his treads, goes into something like Drums for a little bit more early potency. But either way, top lane, we're going to see some TPs in. Sticky Napalm goes out onto Sue's nice two-man Impale coming out from VSW. We'll see if they're able to chase him down. One stack of Sticky Napalm is there onto VSW, but Turn and Fire with the poison attack is Sue's. He's actually going to make himself very vulnerable to this gank. Two stacks of Napalm. Two-man Impale once again is going to save him, but the Miscoil and one last right click under the Nacom will bring down the Viper. That's a very big kill going the way of UG. They will perhaps pay with their Vengeful here. He's trying to fog out the Clockwork, gets miscalled up. He'll turn for a return kill and find it on the Lion there. So very nice trade overall for UG.
Yeah, I think so too. The attack speed slow, or rather movement, or turn slow, excuse me, is ridiculous. Inside mid lane, Huskar going to go strong into Klotz, but messes up his armlet toggle and ends up going down. That honestly shouldn't happen.
Yeah, and it's a big kill going the way of Klotz, especially considering that I believe he was solo for that. That'll give him his Midas as well. So very nice pickup for the Tiny. 4-2 is your score 7 minutes in, but certainly doesn't feel like a very big lead for UG at this point.
No, definitely not. They're going to need a lot more. The Huskar losing one life is really detrimental to the rest of the game. Lion's down towards bottom, and is just going to look to soak some experiences. He does want his level 6. He walks up towards the Lifestealer, but doesn't end up dropping any spells. Really, that should have been a kill for the Huskar, in all honesty, but just got unlucky. Maybe got stunned out with a nice Avalanche.
Yeah, and he is really the definition of a snowball hero. So he is going to need to start to get some traction under his heels. They will bring Z-Talk behind him. He's going to drop up a high ground ward as well. Looks like it was pinged out from the Dire side, however. So they did have the vision of their own high ground ward. They're seeing the Abaddon. They'll probably be dewarded here promptly, so deny up a little bit. Klotz going to run back into lane. They have the hook shot available here with Alameo, and they can look to go into the Huskar, although he's fairly tanky right now, and I'm not sure they have enough physical damage to bring him down through the armlet.
Yeah, it'll be a very sketchy kill if they even get it at all. I think Clockwork would be better served going for another lane, although they do have a lot inbound. I don't think they're going to be able to accomplish it. He's low, but the ability for Huskar to turn around and get a kill by himself is incredible. But with a hasted and invis Clockwork, maybe they can pull this off, as the Huskar is going to go towards the top rune spot, looking into the enemy woods, potentially trying to catch out the IO after going for a stack, but he doesn't end up finding it. Now with the invis, Alameda is going to pop the battery assault and go strong into the Huskar, although he turns on his armlet and is going to turn around. Point blank hookshot is going to stop him a little bit longer. Can he get the toggle off? No, he's going to get shot down by the Clockwork. Blink and lasso from Nando, going to try to pull back the IO, but the damage just isn't there. The Purge is going to be dropped onto the bat himself, but in the end, it's just one kill for Swag. Lion down towards bottom, ends up dying to the Vengeful Spirit Lifestealer.
Beautiful set of cogs there from Alameo. Push the Abaddon out of range for the Aphotic Shield and push the Huskar up to the north, and they finish him off there. So very nicely played from him, and overall decent trade. However, as you mentioned, netting the kill bot lane was the combo, including that Lifestealer, who's now 2-0-0 and looking pretty good sitting at level 8 is Benjas.
Yeah, and full drums now flying out to him on the courier. He's primed and ready to look for some kills, but it really kind of feels like this Huskar isn't doing anything for Union Gaming yet, and that's really unfortunate. And also, since that lasso gank didn't work out, they're not going to have the Lifestealer bomb available to them for about 50 seconds or so. It's going to take quite a long time. Viper down towards bottom is now going to be up against the Lifestealer, and even with a good start, Lifestealer is going to feel the pressure of Sooths.
Yeah, standing on the Huskar is looking a little bit low mid lane. He does have his Abaddon behind him once again, but it looks like Swag bringing the cavalry over 3 heroes inbound towards the mid lane. He is going to get a little bit of chip damage done on this tier 1. They'll have to force out the glyph here. Klotz just going to farm underneath the tower, and that'll force the Huskar off. The hook shot actually misses on a still stand-in. And stand-in was just standing there, but no hook shot gonna land, so no aggression coming off the back of that.
That was such an awkward time to stop for the Huskar. I'm sure the Clockwork is just kicking himself, because that was pretty ridiculous. I'm pretty sure that he was going into the shop to buy his Morbid Mask there. I have no idea what else you'd stop for, but either way, Huskar's going to survive, although only just. DD Rune's going to spawn down towards bottom, probably secured by Swag's Sooth.
Yep, they're going to be able to grab that up. He has the full mech as well, so they are going to look to wrap around in this mid lane. 2 on the high ground are available. No hook shot, though, to Alameo. They are going to scout out Nando, though. The Hex will be their first. Rocket Flare, Viper Strike, and the Finger. Aphotic Shield not going to save you, my friend. They're going to get Z-Talk pretty low, but he'll pop the Borrowed Time for now. Open Wounds go down into Suze, but he's just going to man up against Ben. Has nice set of cogs. Going to lock in the Lifestealer, and the Mistcoil not enough to keep him up. Now Z-Talk, the last target for Swag, and they'll bring him down as well. 4-0 in this mid lane, going the way of Swag, and running to the south is Nightmare. Hookshot is available in 1 second, however, and it looks like it should be an easy kill. Relocate coming in as well. Toss forward from the IO Avalanche. Cogs will be there just to secure the kill for the Clockwork, I guess. But either way, 5-0 going Swag's way, and all of a sudden 8-5 is your score, and the tier 1 mid is down.
This fight is really going to be a big turning point in the game, I feel. Although Blink Lasso is going to pull back VSW. Can the Batrider do this by himself? No. Lion's just going to casually walk out of there. Union Gaming are really playing quite sloppily. They can't afford to be doing this poorly in their lanes, and at this point, they need to be at a crushing advantage. Not even in the situation that Swag are. Like, even though they're ahead, they're not that far ahead, but regardless, they're still doing quite nicely for themselves. Very interesting first item for Klotz too, actually. He's not going to go into the Aghanim Scepter after the Midas. It's going to be a Yasha.
Yeah, casual Yasha not bad on the Tiny, but certainly would have expected the Ags to come out for the farming speed. But I guess they're assuming that we will see the fights early. And as you mentioned, having this laning stage and the early game not go well for UG is very detrimental, especially considering their item builds. You got the Armlet Rush coming out on the Huskar. You had the Drums phase first on Benjaz. Meanwhile, the Midas on the other side on the Tiny is going to help secure his late game. So certainly UG need to start to get the ball rolling here with this Blink Lasso, which is on cooldown for the next little bit as Nando used it on the solo line.
Yeah, nothing's really going well for Union Gaming except for the Lifestealer's farm, and that's all fine and good, but really the Huskar and the Batrider haven't been able to activate themselves in any significant fashion. I'd like to see them pick up a smoke for this bat and look for a kill like now. They need to start finding some momentum under their belt, but there's no clear target either. With the defensive capabilities of the Relocate coming out from the IO and just the raw amount of power that Swag's heroes are bringing to the table, it's by no means an easy feat.
Yeah, mid lane, the Huskar pretty low, gonna get scouted out with the Rocket Flare hook shot. He's actually gonna whiff, it seems. Actually, bot lane, they actually ran into Nightmare and Z-Talk, and Z-Talk gonna survive for the time being. Alameo trying to TP out in the tree line, but he'll get jumped and lassoed, and that Clockwork will be falling. So far, it's a 1-for-1. The IO able to relocate himself out. Z-Talk gonna be able to suicide with the Mistcoil, though. Very nicely played, and the Avalanche gonna catch on Benja's Finger of Death, finishes off the Batrider, and all the while losing the Clockwork, but 4 down for the side of UG.
Huskar needed to be a part of that fight, but all the while he's been farming up inside the woods, and even though they do get that Clockwork, and it was a decent kill, I suppose, it's now 6-12, and Swagger just getting so much. Even after backing off for a Yasha, Tiny is going to be well on his way towards an Aghanim Scepter, or even if he wants to finish it like a full Manta, it doesn't really matter. He's just getting so much out of this map, and Lifestealer, even though he's higher than the Viper, he's not able to fight like it, since there are so many ways for Swag to kite him around, with the extra movement speed from Aya's Tether, with the Viper Strike to slow him around and just constantly maneuver around him, and the Clockwork Cogs. There's no real way for him to maneuver through the engagements.
Yeah, so much slow coming out from the Viper. I would have liked him to see him max out the Nether Toxin before the Orb, just because there's a Huskar on the other side. But either way, his build's proven definitely effective thus far, and as has the mech. So we will see probably Swag ball up a little more. The Lion is still 1,000 gold away from a Blink, but a Force Staff picked up for Alameo will make him all the more mobile in these engagements. And perhaps he doesn't fall in the next coming engagement.
Relocate on the Huskar. He's going to get Avatossed and punched down. Easiest kill of the Dyer's life set up by this Observer Ward.
Yeah, nice piece of vision going their way, and that's a big target to bring down. If you look at the net worth, Huskar already fallen below 5k, 4th place overall, and he's being doubled up by Klotz.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, getting an Armlet Helm of the Dominator at 15 minutes in is alright for Huskar, and you can still fight, but the big difference is that Tiny is balling out of control. 5-0 and 4 with a Hand of Midas rolling. He's going to have that full Manta flying out to him right now.
Yeah, it's interesting to see him go for the Manta first, but I mean, as we've touched on a few times, it looks like Swag are willing to fight. They will probably aggress towards this tier 1 in the bottom lane, as we will see Klotz and the IO reconvene with their teammates. They're actually going to walk into the Roche Pit, though. Manta Style picked up, jump right into the Roche Pit. There is some Radiant Vision here that watched them walk in, but it doesn't look like they're going to mount a battle here at the Roche Pit, and it's going to be easy Aegis going the way of Swag.
It's a pretty awkward Roshan lineup coming out from Swag. Nothing great, but with all 5 heroes wailing on it, it's more than enough to secure them that double life, and it looks like that's going to be handed towards Klotz too soon.
Yeah, they can use the Viper Strike here, but it doesn't seem like it's needed with the overcharge available from Ned, keeping Klotz pretty healthy. And they'll give that over to Tiny, as you said. And Huskar maybe is the first target out there, but they can just look to farm for the next bit. Still got 5 minutes on the Aegis, so can mount a push a little bit later on. Look for a couple of items on their heroes. That Roshan giving a nice boost to VSW, but still about 600, 700 gold away from his Blink Dagger.
Union Gaming do get a tier 1 tower up towards top in the meantime, and that's nice and all, but not near nice enough. Toss on to the range creep is going to take away that ability for the Huskar to stack, although he does have that Helm of the Dominator cooldown coming off just shortly. Looks like they're going to angle for a kill onto Benhez. If he sticks around on this lifesteal, could be in a bit of trouble, although the Abaddon is close by. But still, I think Swag are under no pressure. They're 6 and 13, but their lineup doesn't necessarily need to win anytime soon.
Yeah.
The late game Tiny IO combination is just so sick, and I don't think Union Gaming are really well prepared to deal with it. Even though the Aegis is on Swag side, it feels like Union Gaming are the ones that need to make a move. Relocate over onto the Venge, they blow up Nightmare.
Yeah, easy kill, once again set up by that ward that netted them the first relocate kill. So gotta see UG de-warding that sometime soon. But already, as you mentioned, Klotz doing exceptionally well. 5-0-5 on this Tiny Nando, though, with the Firefly Vision, Blink Lasso, Force Staff available to him, is not going to look to take out Klotz, even though they know relocate is on cooldown. So maybe a little bit of tentativeness from UG here, but I would have expected them to go in on that Tiny. He does have an Aegis, however.
Yeah, and honestly, without the Huskar, I don't think they have the damage. And speaking of said Huskar, he's going to get hookshotted in and cogs. Avalanche Toss going to drop him pretty low. He's going to jump towards Ned, but he's in a 1v3. There's no real way for him to survive this. The Armlet's going to buy him a little bit more space, but one bop from the Viper as he tries to toggle that off is going to end up killing him.
It was a very well-placed bop indeed. And Huskar going down once again, huge. And now they're just starting to widen the gap. Swag looking at about a 7k net worth lead at this point, in excess of 7,500 in experience. They're going to TP top, look to mount a defense on their tower with Susan. Benhez might be in a bit of trouble. They could look to go in on the Viper, but 3 levels in corrosive skin, treads, and the mech, as well as the point booster, and he's pretty tanky.
Yeah, this is almost going to be an Aghanim Scepter up for the Viper, and really I love this item, this game more than most. Up against Huskar and Lifestealer, they really have a hard time moving through the fights. Although Huskar does have Life Break, you can usually only use that once or twice inside an engagement, and you're just going to constantly get kited around.
Yeah, Alameo looking for an Aghanim Scepter of his own. He's got the point booster as well, so still quite a ways away from that, about 2,600 gold. He may get aggressed on bottom lane by the Huskar. He is going to be able to force himself out of any peril, though, and he'll be just fine.
They have a relocate. They're going to go straight onto the Huskar with the blink in cogs. Alameo might be in a little bit of trouble, but now with the Avalanche Toss, Huskar's going to be dropped down to about half. He's got a life break over to creeps, but there's not really much that you can do to save him. A little bit of swap help from the Vegetable Spirit's going to be nice. They'll turn for Klotz, and the IO left him alone. This is going to be Tiny's life down the tubes. And really, this is unfortunate. Can they help him out the second time? Aya's going to TP to the tower, trying to tether from the sidelines, but Klotz can do nothing but run. A little bit of a misplay coming out from the tower. He eventually does tether up. Now Klotz is going to try to Manta and fight, but they can't even get the Huskar, and now it's going to be Ned to drop down as Swag are going to lose a pretty big fight because of that tether expiring.
Yeah, that was a little bit odd of them as their engagement. Very nice play coming out from the Huskar. He life break towards the creep to dodge the avalanche, and that's what kept him alive long enough to get swapped out, healed up by the Abaddon. And that's a nice little comeback or a set of engagement there for UG, and they'll probably take a tier 1 off it.
Yeah, very easily too. I don't think this tier 1 has much of a chance of survival, and there's no real trade for Swag anywhere else on the map, although they are getting a little bit of farm on their Lion towards his Blink Dagger, and VSW is very close to it.
Yeah, that's going to be a big item for them as well. He can position himself pretty far back, and he offers a lot to his team when he's able to get off in these fights. So I really like that pickup from VSW. I don't think he had really any other choice. But Huskar, after that engagement, now has kind of made his way back up the net worth chart. Looks like he's picked up a chainmail of his own. So we'll be able to grab up that next item fairly soon here. And Ben has doing fairly well. He's picked up a Yasha. Maybe puts this into an SNY.
Interesting pickup for the Huskar that's actually flying out now. He has a Ghost Scepter. It's going to be pretty nice against the Viper and Tiny, I suppose, but Huskar himself can't do anything while he's Ghost. And although it's a nice defensive item, I think either going towards the AC or Blade Mail with this Chainmail would have been a little bit better.
It could. I mean, he's a strength hero. I mean, it could eventually be an E-Blade just to blow up the IO with the life break, but I don't think that's the right course of action. So not a huge fan. It does give him a little bit of extra stats, but there's still a lot of magic damage. I know he's innately resistant to that magic damage with the Berserker's Blood, but still you're amplifying it with the Ghost Scepter, so it may just put him over the threshold to die in a few of these engagements. Not a big fan of that. Probably would have liked to see him build that Chainmail, maybe into a Blade Mail or something better.
Well, either way, we're paused for a little bit as CNB have some sort of issue. Hopefully it's going to be resolved quickly, and it looks like Union Gaming share that hope. And, well, there you go. Either way, we're back into this game, or at least we should be shortly.
Yeah, VSW lagging a bit. He'll pick up his Blink nearly, or sometime soon here, I should say. So definitely does want to get his ping smoothed out. And it looks like UG are actually going to mount up to continue this push in the bot lane. 15 seconds more about for the Tiny on the sidelines, and the IO going to respawn about simultaneously with him. But they can put quite some significant chip damage into the tower.
Yeah, the Glyph is going to delay just enough so that Union Gaming are not going to feel comfortable. And now with the long-range hook shot onto Benhaz. Is there a relocate? It's going to be coming in through the south as they go for the Bat Rider, going to Avalanche, toss him in 100-0. The poor Bat, they'll chase forward, although Benhaz is very quickly. With the drums popped, Yasha and Phase Boots, he's running at near max movement speed. Klotz is no slouch either. He's going to turn by his creep, toss it up, and just farm a camp in the meantime. 2 for 0 as Swag catch a couple on the retreat.
Yeah, unfortunately, Klotz didn't have his Wisp with him there. If he did, he definitely would have looked to chase down Benjaz. It's a nice silver lining for UG that he survives, but either way, great hook shot from Alameo, and they're going to look to punish UG after they finally found a beneficial little scenario for themselves. So they're going to give the lead right back over to Swag, and things starting to look pretty scary.
They definitely are. The Aghanim Scepter on the Tiny is only going to be a couple minutes away until Klotz 2-2 has that item, and although usually when we see Aghanim Scepter picked up on Tiny, it's not the greatest item for fighting, he already has that Manta on top of it as well, so he's going to be able to cleave through buildings and heroes very easily.
Yeah, VSW now has the Blink Dagger as well, and he's got a smoke in hand, so maybe they look to use this up fairly soon. There is some Radiant Vision up on the cliff, but they're now out of range of that. They do see the Tiny IO as well as VSW mid, so perhaps the reveal of the Blink Dagger is over to UG, but don't know how much they can do about it. They really haven't been the ones setting the tempo, even with the Life Break and the Blink Lasso. It's really been engagements taken mostly on Swag's terms.
Clockwork spots eyes onto onto Benhaz. Is going to catch him out with the hook shot. TP away from Benhaz. Is not going to save you from a toss as they just find enough space to cancel that out. Now he's going to run straight into a Viper and an Avalanche as he gets shot down by Zeus. So mega kill spree for him, and Union Gaming cannot afford to lose their life steal.
Yeah, he's the one hero they can't have die. And now, sitting at 9k net worth, he has been surpassed by Suze, who's got the full Aghanim Scepter, so throwing out that Viper Strike, no big deal. They can look to take another engagement. Lasso is going to find Ned, however, and the Wisp, trying to tether to the low ground, is going to have it interrupted with the Flame Break, but a nice Impale will keep him up just for a little bit of time. And Armlet being popped on the low ground by the Huskar keeps him up for now with the Mist Coil. He's going to have his mana burned down by the Cogs, but he's got the Aphotic Shield. Life breaks towards Suze. Mech keeps them healthy, though. Avalanche will finish off the Huskar, and they're going to pop the borrowed time onto Mel. He's going to die here shortly. Actually looks to TP out and should be able to do so successfully. So nice heads up play there, but losing the Huskar, not the greatest there. They do get 2 supports from UG. Still don't feel like it's nearly enough if Soothes and Klotz survive.
No, definitely not. I think the biggest advantage that they get is some nice experience for both the Abaddon and the Batrider, but also Lifestealer was in no way involved in that fight since he's just now respawned. So
yeah,
Swag are still in a pretty commanding lead. They're Tiny's leaps and bounds ahead of anything on Union Gaming's side.
And it's really not like it stops item progression. Tranquil's Bottle Urn, Ghost Scepter up on Ned. That's all you need on your Wisp. And of course, the Blink is up for VSW. So not the biggest loss in terms of item progression for Swag. They'll be just fine with that. Roshan going to be spawning in minimum about 50 seconds here. So look for Swag to probably eye that as their next objective. UG, though, already kind of posturing up around the pit, expecting this Roshan dance. I don't know really that I favor them in a pit fight, though.
Yeah, at the moment, I really don't think that Union Gaming have done anything with this Lifestealer they couldn't do with another carry, but maybe that's going to change now as they have him infested up inside Nando. They're going to look for a gank onto bottom.
Yeah, they do have the Wisp postured up pretty safely here, but they're going to actually scout out Ned first, and that's big if they're able to bring him down. They swap him back. Magic Missile will be able to land, and with the Life Break, they'll bring down Ned pretty low. He's pops the Ghost Scepter for now. He'll be able to tether up to the north, and the negative Urn Charge is going to battle the positive one, and they'll get the Magic Stiff up. Ned survives. Klotz able to TP out, it seems, and they'll all be just fine, and Smoke Gank thwarted.
Yeah, and in the end, that's really unfortunate for Union Gaming, and now the ability for Swag to turn is there. Lion's going to be leading the charge, looking for a disable onto the Huskar. Going to catch him out with the Hex. He's inside a corner and can't really do anything about it. Gets her spiked up. He has no TP out as Klotz 2 gets an Avalanche toss onto Ben Hez. Going to start cleaving down the life series. Going to get lassoed, however, and start getting focused down. Klotz is dropping low. Is there any way for them to save him? No, with the life break in. One more auto attack from the Huskar and the Life Stealer both. They'll be able to bring him down now. Alameo's out without a team, and this is going to be a big victory for Union Gaming. Can they chase for any more? It looks like VSW might be the receiving end of this. They force that forward their Venge, although she doesn't have mana for a Magic Missile. It doesn't matter, they get in range for the open wounds. Triple kill for Benhaz, and well, it really felt like Swag tried to go for way too much there. Vengeful Spirit over in the sidelines going to be munched down by the Vipers. Zeus sitting on the remainder of a haste rune.
Yeah, I don't know why Swag takes that fight there. They didn't have their Viper. He was off in the side lane split pushing. He is going to look to go in himself now. He's going to drop the Viper Strike onto Benhaz, but he'll pop the Armlet and the Rage. Sue's in a little bit of trouble. Ned going to come in, try and overcharge him up, but the Burning Spears just tick him down with ease, and Sue's going to feed over his life here. He's now down for 50 seconds, does have buyback, but the rest of his teammates do not, and Klotz down for 10 seconds as well is going to spell the doom of this tier 2 in the off lane for Swag, and that's a nice little 2-minute window for UG, and that kind of brings them back into this one.
Yeah, it was such an awkward exchange from Swag. They end up splitting their focus as Tiny goes in 1v3. The IO wasn't tethered to him for very long at all. Ned gets focused down. The Lion was trying to go for the Huskar over in the sidelines, and in the end, Swag, they're not that far ahead, even though they still have a lead when it comes to the net worth, and even experience is still inside their favor. It's not to the point where Tiny can 1v5.
Yeah, certainly so. He's going to send a couple of illusions towards the mid lane, try to find a distraction, but unfortunately for Swag, it's a pretty late spawn on Roshan, and already UG wary of that fact that he will be up now, if not soon, and they're bringing everyone, over to the pit. Blink, Lasso, Force Staff at the ready. Gem on Nando's side as well, so they'll look to establish some vision as they already have surrounding the pit, and they see Alameo and Sue's up on the high ground.
Yeah, well, for the time being, we're just in an awkward impasse. This entire team really wants to go for much. Hoof Stomp from the center, going to catch out the Vipers. He gets swapped back to the entire enemy team. Hook shot in from Alameo. It's not going to save him as he gets, lassoed up. And the jump in from the Tiny with the IO. They will relocate into the middle of this fight, but the Huskar's not dropping very low. He is able to go Scepter and Armlet Toggle to buy himself a little bit more space. The cleave damage coming out from the Tiny is decent, but not enough. Swag again find themselves in a really awkward corner. Their positioning gets dreadfully punished by Union Gaming.
Yeah, Suze, I have no idea what he was doing walking high ground with no vision into a Centaur just to kill a creep. And he basically kills himself and loses not only the engagement, but the Roshan for the side of Swag. And I wish he was Klotz 2-2, because then I would call him Klotz 3-2-2. But either way, Aegis going to the side of UG, and they're looking pretty good. Basher fully completed now for Benhaz in addition to the SNY. And we've got the full Halberd up on the Huskar with that Aegis.
Yeah, things are starting to look up for Union Gaming after 2 really sketchy fights by Swag. By no means have they won this game already. It's still winnable by Swag, but they need to tighten up the screws. These last 2 fights have not been good indicators for the future.
Yeah, and perhaps because of that Halberd pickup, we will see Klotz go back for a BKB after starting what seemed to be the makings of an AC. It could be a Mjolnir here, but really expecting the BKB to come out at some point for this Tiny. They can't allow him to be disabled through these fights, especially considering Ned's been caught a little bit out of position these few times, so he has been left alone.
Yeah, which is really unfortunate. Tiny by himself is definitely not as scary when he's partnered up with the IO. The extra damage reduction and attack speed is pretty ridiculous. Even with this Aegis, Union Gaming aren't in the greatest position to push high ground, but the tier 2 mid probably going to be their next objective that they look for.
Yeah, it will be the BKB. He picks up the recipe. He's about 600 gold away from that Ogre Club as well. So definitely look for Swag to pick up at least that item before looking to take any other engagements. But UG finally looking to control up the tempo a bit. As we mentioned earlier, they've got the gem up on Nando, and he's got Boots of Travel, so he's going to look to establish some map control around the map for UG and perhaps look to choke in a Swag. Hookshot, though, is a solo one from this Clockwork. He's going to look to find Benhaz, but manning up against this Lifestealer, considering his farm is probably not the best idea, and Alameo forced down to the low ground and TP out.
A little bit of miscommunication. Maybe if they bring in the IO and the Tiny, they can kill him off, but even so, it's not a guaranteed kill, and I think that's probably a little bit trigger happy of the Clockwork to go for that hook shot. He survives just the same, but still, it kind of feels like Alameo wants to do something where there really isn't anything to be done.
Yeah, and that's not an Agnim's hook shot yet, so still 20 seconds on the sideline, and UG a little bit weary of that. They will put some chip damage into this tower. They're going to throw Benhaz in the front lines as the battering ram, and Ztok going to be right there with him on the Abaddon, so uncontested safe lane tier 2 will go their way. Most of the heroes from Swag out of position. Klotz trying to find a trade in the bot lane, but Glyph is available here, and we will see if they jump in for TP rotations. One TP is going to come in. That's the solo Abaddon, and it looks like he's jumping into his death. A little bit odd here, but Klotz, worried about what lurks in the shadows, is actually going to back off. Very questionable play from UG, not glyphing that and only sending the one hero.
Yeah, really ballsy. The Batrider was holding on to the Lifestealer cargo and was there, so maybe, just maybe, they would have been able to kill off the Tiny, but even so, it's a big bluff by Union Gaming, dropping just Ztok there first. In the end, it pays off, however. The tier 2 tower up towards top is going to fall in trade for the tier 2 tower in bottom lane. And after all is said and done, this game pretty much maintains its status quo. We're pretty much zeroed out, even though there's a 2,500 gold advantage and experience advantage for Union Gaming. By no means is that super significant.
Yeah, we will see UG regroup mid and try to use this Aegis now. They're going to look to take down this mid tier 2, but perhaps now with the BKB, we finally see the Tiny in the team fights. Jump forward, Lasso is going to catch VSW. That's a big target for them to bring down, albeit being a support. And now Swag's team fight has really been hampered, and this will probably be a free tier 2 going the way of UG despite the glyph.
Yeah, without having their line at the ready, it looks like tier 2 is going to end up dying. Huskar is currently pump faking a center hoof stomp. That's pretty darn loud, but either way, tier 2 tower is going to fall just the same. As Union Gaming potentially even think to go high ground. They still have this Aegis for a little bit while longer yet on the Huskar, about a minute, so more than enough to go for this push.
Yeah, Viper Strike going to be thrown out onto Ben. He's got the aphotic shield there. They will glyph immediately for Swag. The Lion going to be up soon, and it looks like UG will think better of going high ground. They're going to try to find return kills. Hookshot lands onto 2. Nice pair of cogs as well. Viper Strike going to go out onto Nightmare. He's going to drop very low. Miscoil's available for him, though. He's going to just try and TP out, and the Miscoil is there in time. Lion a little bit too late to the party. Klotz stuck up on the high ground. They will get the Hex off onto Z-Talk. Viper Strike is there as well, and it looks like perhaps this Abaddon will be the sacrificial lamb, but the Huskar gonna look to go back in. He's got the Aegis available, jumps in onto VSW. He'll chop him very low after catching a finger, and he will try to get himself out. Z-Talk still available. Viper Strike there for the Huskar. Alameo running perhaps into his own doom here, is gonna try and get away. Lifebreak being casted by the Huskar, but not able to get it through the fog. And Alameo will be able to jump out, but no return kills actually going the way of Swag. They even lose VSW.
An uncharacteristic mistake for Ned to end up relocating Klotz up onto the high ground, and now a Blink Lasso onto the Tiny with no IO support. Klotz is probably going to end up going down here. He's going to turn the BKB, try to end up fighting. He's doing a lot of damage to Nando, but now the Huskars join the fray. Klotz can't really do this. He's going to be slowed down by the life break and now get chipped away at, even though there's no Flaming Spear since he does have that BKB. Point blank hookshot going to buy him a little bit more space with some nice cogs from LMAO. Looks like Tiny is going to end up surviving. No! Ben Schulzer snipes him with the Howl of Terror as he was just on the threshold of dying, and now Union Gaming with that big pickoff are going to look to push. Even though they don't have the Aegis anymore on their Huskar, I don't think it matters.
Yeah, I was waiting for that wave of terror. He actually turned. There's a life break for it, though. Ned gonna have the Ghost Scepter Hex up on the Huskar, but it will probably be a free lane. No buyback available for the Tiny. The Magic Missile will hit Ned. Wave of Terror once again almost finds a kill. Viper Strike gonna come out from Soothes, but the melee axe has already been forfeit. And now it looks like Union Gaming will back off content with their spoils. They're not going to stick around despite having that Tiny down for 40 seconds. And they will get the creep momentum going their way in the mid lane. And finally, this kind of early-ish game-oriented lineup showing its strength.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen Ned play IO earlier in this tournament. And really, I don't think this game is representative of his ability to play the hero. It really hasn't felt like he's done his job. Really ends up getting picked off 9 times out of 10 whenever they start a major engagement. The relocates have been alright, but pretty subpar. Swagger playing pretty poorly, even though I really like their draft, and I think they can still come back from this. One lane of barracks, even though it's a disadvantage, is by no means the end of the game when you have an IO Tiny. These last couple minutes of the game have really been poorly executed.
Yeah, and what was once probably a 6 or 7K net worth lead for Klotz over Benhaz is now only to about 3K at this point. Benhaz looking for his AC fairly soon and isn't too far off it to respond to the AC held currently by, or being built currently by Klotz. So yeah, it's really not a very wide gap anymore. This game looking pretty even. UG in fact have a gold lead of their own, almost at about 10K, and the same in experience.
Yeah, I'm really tempted to say that Union Gaming are winning this game. At the very least, they do have momentum in their favor. The late game power of a Huskar and Lifestealer is pretty threatening, especially if they're able to blow up the IO. Without the IO support, I don't think Tiny's going to be able to do enough this game.
Yeah, and the Viper built a little bit too early game in order to be scaling as well as this Huskar Lifestealer duo will, especially if you're considering the Wisp not being there. Certainly the Wisp there, the Viper Tiny can fight up against them, but Halbeard purchased up as well by Suze, and already there's a Satanic to supplement the Halbeard from the Huskar.
Yeah, pretty darn hard to bring down. Union Gaming will attempt to just keep all of these lanes pushed out. Although I don't think they're going to go high ground unless they get a pick off. They'll just wait it out until they get their next Roshan, and their team is very good at killing off that Roche with the Maya Summer of the Venge as well as the Oscar. Abaddon inside mid, going to be forced to pop his ultimate as he gets hookshotted in, but now he brings in some backup. The Lifestealer's charging in, very threatening into Seuss. He gets a bash on this first hit, but it's getting a handful of misses too. Seuss is pretty darn tanky, but not tanky enough to survive this when you get lassoed by the Bat Rider. That's an unstoppable spree. TP back to the base as IO Tiny are looking for a trade, going for the tier 3 tower. Lifestealer is inside this Bat Rider. He's going to pop out, go straight for Klotz. Klotz is going to pop the Manta, trying to buy himself a little bit more space. He does not have a TP. He needs the IO to bail him out of here. Where's the relocate channel? Can he actually get this onto him with the BKB activated. Klotz might have only just secured his demise. Io's going to relocate up, but he couldn't actually tether to him. The toss damage is not enough to even kill off the Batrider as Benhaz survives, and it's now going to fully heal up on these tiny illusions. Meantime, mid lane, range barracks are going to fall to Union Gaming, and Tiny's forced to buy back. They come in with the relocate, trying to get some vengeance, and, well, maybe they can. The Batrider and the Lifesteal are the only ones here, or their TP's on the Huskar, and it looks like they're going to come in with the bashes onto Klotz. Can they actually get him out in time? The life break, and now with the Halberd, they're going to start focusing him down as the Tiny's dropping low, and they'll get another bash for good measure. Klotz is down, and the Io can do nothing but watch as Ned is currently completely up the river. Flame Break cancels TP. Swap is going to cancel a TP too, but probably helped more than it hurt. But regardless, Ned should end up going down. Ghost Scepter is going to amplify the magic missile damage, and that'll give Nightmare the kill.
Yeah, and the full lane of racks, as you mentioned, brought down mid lane by UG. So overall, great set of engagements for them. And bot lane, Ztalk maybe gets caught out, but small consolation prize for Swag, who really has looked uncoordinated after a very good early game.
Yeah, the Io Tiny combination ending up dying back on the Tiny. It was disastrous, really. There's nothing else to say. With the Finger of Death, they will kill off the Abaddon. Now Nightmare has also come in. He's probably going to end up dying. Huskar and Batrider are close behind, however. Maybe they can turn this one around. Blink and Lasso. They catch out Zeus. He's the tankiest target, but maybe they can kill him off just the same since Huskar is doing so much damage himself. They do not have a BKB on the Huskar, so the battery assault's going to be pretty annoying as everybody's stuck on the cliff with Line and Batrider still there. Inside the fire and the flames, the Line is going to burn down. Now they chase down Zeus with Flame Break bouncing him back just a little bit more. They get one miss onto the Batrider, and well, he's not doing enough damage. They need a little bit more with a light break and one more auto attack. That's going to be it, as stand-in's going to turn that into 2 supports for 3 heroes on the deck. Buyback from the Vipers. They go for the tier 3 tower, and Lifesteal goes for the tier 3 up towards top.
Yeah, they are able to split them up here, and Benja is going to get a lot of damage done on this tier 3. If he popped his armlet, he probably would have killed it off by now, but is still going to be able to get it done. Glyph is going to be popped, though. Buyback is forced out onto the line. The life break goes forward onto Ned, though. He's dropping very low. Nice hook shot from Alameo to bring the Viper into uncharted territory. He's able to halberd up the Viper, though, and the flame break finishes off Ned. They will get the Hex now onto the Huskar. He's still got his Satanic available, though. He'll go Scepter up for the time being. Viper Strike not quite in range, and we'll be able to get back. Nando comes in with the lasso onto Suze, but Klotz gets the avalanche off, and it looks like the Batrider gonna pay for that one. But either way, a lot going the way of UG.
Yeah, that Batrider pickup is pretty significant, as Swag also secure a gem for the line, and they don't lose any other sets of barracks because the Lifestealer ends up backing out there. But he's gonna have his Monkey King bar completed now, as Benhaz is almost overtaking the Tiny, and if we subtract the value of the Midas, he actually is completely on par. Yeah, the Lifestealer is a force to be reckoned with for Union Gaming, and let's see if they're going to be able to put together a full 5-on-5 fight. The last couple of engages have been really very spread out and sloppy. Klotz2 going to look to take down this Roshan, but by himself he can't do it that quickly, and it looks like Union Gaming gonna crash this party.
Yeah, Benja's considering walking into the pit. We are going to see Ztalk run into Zeus here. Blink forward, Wave of Terror, Magic Missile onto Alameo. The Mistcoil is there as well. He'll be able to force himself up to the high ground, but the Huskar's somehow been put on the cliff, and Klotz as well as Zeus are bringing down this Roshan. He can look to jump in with the Blink and the Life Break. He's got his Halberd available as well, but he'll be too late. Klotz brings down the Roche, and will get the Aegis. They will lose one on the backline. That's their Lion, but Vengeful Spirit going to be traded immediately for it. Viper Strike goes out onto Benhaz, and the hook shot coming in, stunning him up. Nice set of cogs as well. Klotz going to pop his BKB, looks a man up against Benhaz. He's walking back, and he will be able to infest into the Huskar, but that leaves Ztalk on the high ground to his own demise, and they will find a very nice engagement for Swag. Beautiful hook shot into the pit, but Alameo is probably going to be brought down by the Huskar here. The Burning Spears will tick him down, it seems, and he will die off, but either way, Benhaz in the pit. Flame Break gonna bring Soothes really low, but the Avalanche keeps him up for the time being. He's gonna get the Halberd off onto the Huskar as well, tossed up into the air. Ghost Scepter keeps Huskar up for the time being, but he will tick down eventually, and the hook shot coming back in from Alameo, and just disaster for UG around the pit. Aegis still available onto Klotz here, but the mid lane, fortunately for UG, is pushing in pretty heavily.
An absolute mess of a fight. Huskar starts that off by blinking up onto the high ground here, and although he wanted to go into the pit and expected there to be heroes there, the rest of Union Gaming decided not to go into it. So Swag get that Roshan. Really entirely for free. There wasn't anything that they lost because Union Gaming decided to chase onto the backlines and pick off the line. And although they were successful in doing so, the lifestealer was way too low to actually contribute. And this game is just so back and forth, as neither team are really taking very clean engagements.
Yeah, it's pretty wide open at this point. Luckily, though, for the side of UG, one of the tier 4 is already down. The second one only at 159 HP, so Throne is exposed here shortly, and we need to see Swag making quick work of that last engagement. Z-Talk may run into his own death here. He'll soul ring up into an avalanche toss. That's going to pop the borrowed time for sure, and Klot's going to hang around. There's actually no one to defend up for Z-Talk here. He's going to try and run to the north where the Vengeful Spirit is, perhaps gets a swap to the low ground. Klot's going to look to take him down. A nice 4-staff from Nightmare toss is going to be a little late. They're going to relocate for this one, though. They relocate forward. Borrowed time is down. They bring down Z-Talk with relative ease, and actually Union Gaming no rotations over after such a long drawn out engagement, and Age is still available. 6k gold as well onto Klotz, and maybe they look to regroup with the teammates, but for now just gonna back off.
He's going to decide that he wants a Monkey King bar of his own. He's going to fly that out to him on the courier as we speak. Even though they do get another support pick off, Swag aren't able to take any objectives off of it, but still are finding a little bit more space. Let's see. I don't know. This game is just so back and forth and really isolated spots of action instead of either team going for major objectives. VSW pushing out by himself in top lane, although no immediate pressure as the entire Radiant team is down towards the bottom area of the map. But what really surprises me is the lack of wards on both sides, really, at the time being. Both teams are going into this completely blind.
Yeah, and Abyssal going to be coming out shortly here within the next couple minutes for Benjaz, so that's really scary for Klotz if he's not able to keep this Aegis for his next engagement. Big Wave pushing in top lane, but it doesn't look like Swag are going to regroup around it. They may look to take down this mid lane. Couple of tiny illusions chipping away at it. VSW going to come and deny, though, is going to be attempted and successful from the Huskar.
Regardless, I don't think that deny really is going to stop Swag that much. I think more than anything, that's just going to allow them to push through bottom, and then if they win a fight there, maybe go for 2 lanes of barracks and get themselves an advantage this game. And it looks like that's going to be the course of action. Aegis is still going to persist for about 1 minute and 5 seconds. It might be enough for them to go for this push, but if they want to go for it, they need to do it now.
Yeah, it looks like that will perhaps be the choice. There's no smoke available on them as it stands. Gem is up onto the Clockwork, and Sooth's just looking to farm right now, interestingly enough. Not really close to his next item. He's got Vlad's flying out on the courier for the Clockwork, however, will give them a little bit more potency in their team fights. It looks like they're looking to just push all the lanes in here before going high ground with the Aegis. They only have, though, 40 seconds on it.
Yeah, it seems that the course of action is just going to be that Swag are going to fall back and wait for the next Roshan before they actually go for a high ground push, unless Union Gaming make a major mistake. Wisp, in the meantime, going to get blown up by the Huskar, and now they chase for a little bit more. 4-staff away by the Clockwork, and a hook shot in, going to buy Zeus a little bit more space. Nice Cogs going to disrupt this fight, but Huskar is going to jump in all the same. He has BKB going to pop it as he starts focusing down Zeus, but he does not have any True Strike. Zeus is going to be able to buy himself a little bit more space with the Ghost Scepter of his own. They're going to lose the Clockwork, and now in the meantime, over on the right side of this fight, Ben has going to start smacking down VSW. Ghost Scepter is going to buy him a little bit more time, and he's going to get an Earth Spike blink away, although he's over on the other end. It's only going to be one more swipe of Lifestealer's Claws to spell the end of his life. And now Viper also going to end up dying as the Huskar and Vengeful Spirit mop him up. 0 for 4 is going to trade as Union Gaming come away with a big victory.
Yeah, Klotz trying to TP to the bot lane, do some split pushing, but immediate reactions from a couple of the members of the side of UG, and that'll keep their base just fine for now. Huskar, instead of taking the tier 4, is chipping away at one of these extra buildings. A little bit odd from him, but either way, they don't have units in the base currently, so fighting against backdoor protection. But yeah, it was a Blink Lasso onto Ned in the mid lane to start that one off, and very well played from Nando, who is going to get blown up mid lane. Meanwhile, Ben has going to look to fight this. He's chopping down Klotz very quickly, and the Tiny goes down, no Ned in sight. And now all of a sudden, down for 95 seconds is Klotz. Does have buyback available, as does Nando at this point. But maybe this signals UG going for the GG push.
Yeah, honestly, I think the Tiny needs to buy back if they want to defend their base, or at the very least, the second set of barracks. It's just going to be mopped up by Ben Hazes. He's trucking on the LS. they'll drop a glyph and delay for a little bit longer. Now the IO's back up, but Tiny needs to buy back now. The melee barracks is getting focused down. At the very least, that's going to be the cost of this. The Viper's going to come in. Viper strike up Ben has as he is going to be kited around a little bit, but now that he's able to munch onto Zeus, Zeus is dropping low. He has the rage, and now is going to try to focus down Colossus, although Ben has is having a difficulty getting onto a target. He eventually finds the IO. Is going to be able to bring down the IO. Heals onto the lifestealer. He's going to stay alive for the time being, although Colossus is swinging pretty heavily with that tree. The Huskar goes onto the sidelines, kills off the Lion, and for now the only heroes that have dropped are supports. Avalanche toss onto the Huskar isn't going to do a lot of damage, but the right clicks from the tree are. He's going to turn around, turns on the Satanic, trying to right click for all he's worth, but ends up getting CC'd out of it. He's hookshotted by the Clockwork. They'll pull back the Tiny as he now starts to right click into the Huskar as the Clockwork's the first one to die. He's going to eat through the cogs, and now life break over to 2. The Tiny as Ben has to join the fray again. GG well played's called out as well. They're going to call it. Their Ancient was being focused down by creeps in the meantime and is going to end up going down.
Yeah, Swag with a very big lead at one point. A little bit too many missteps from them. Specifically Ned on his IO, which, as you mentioned, is a little bit uncharacteristic of him, especially considering what we've seen of late. But either way, UG, a good start off on the semifinals. They'll take game 1 in a very back-and-forth affair.
Yeah, thanks for watching. We'll go into game number 2, and we'll just have to see if Swag or CNB are going to be able to come back into it. That'll be up shortly here on HeflaTV HB1.